Hi guys! So I'm going to see some orchids, see some supermarkets around and try to find some healthy orchids and maybe not so unhealthy orchids to show you what to look for.
I'm litter picking.
She's going to be litter picking, cleaning the streets. So to show you guys what is you should look out for when you're buying your orchid. So let's start. So this is the first supermarket that we are visiting here. It's one of these big branches in the UK. And actually I found good orchids here. But today I am noticing that most orchids are very dehydrated. As you can see, I have this one. These are the mini phalaenopsis, the miniature ones. It has these cute purple flowers, but if I come close, you can see that the leaves are lumpy, which means this plant is dehydrated. If these plants are all full price and you don't want to hustle without knowing if they will survive or not, I wouldn't advise you to buy most of the orchids that I'm showing you here today. So one thing that you can do is to grab the orchid by the spike and look into the root system. That's something that I always do, is to look into the root system, because then you can see if you have some live roots. In this case, the roots were gray, but that's because they haven't been watered yet. So if you offer some water to this plant, chances are that it would become green again, would plump up, and you would probably hydrate the plant. However, if you look to this big phalaenopsis, here I have a very good example of a phalaenopsis that's not doing well at all. This one has a crown rot phalaenopsis or crown rotted phalaenopsis. As you can see, the top leaves are yellow, and I can see that the crown is gone already. So this plant was probably watered from above, and it had an infection on the crown. So these, although you have flowers and the spikes are beautiful, never buy a plant when you see these yellow leaves at the top. A very good example of something that you have to avoid when you're in a supermarket is this cute white phalaenopsis here that not only is dehydrated, but it has a terminal spike. Can you see the leaf here near the top leaf? And the top leaf has a spike. That's a terminal spike, which means that this plant's not going to grow from the top anymore. The only chance for this plant to survive is if it pushes out a keiki. So that's something else for you to avoid. Then here I have just another example with a big phalaenopsis full of flowers but with wrinkled leaves. The leaves are so floppy, it's so dehydrated. Although it is in a big vase and a beautiful vase, is the things that you need to avoid. And again, it has a ton of flowers. The spikes are gorgeous. You wouldn't say that this plant is not healthy or this plant is suffering somehow. But when you look at the leaves, that's a very good example. And they keep coming. If you look to other phalaenopsis around, they are all wrinkled like that. They are probably haven't been watered for a while. And now I have here another white phalaenopsis with a terminal spike. This white phalaenopsis, it's really, really common for them to produce terminal spikes, so always look for them. The sad cases keep on going. This one, look at these leaves, although it has flower spikes. It's so sad. It's not only, I think, has some sort of infection like moldy, because everything is infected here. I think the crown is rot, the stems rot, the leaves are falling down, and then after all these not so amazing orchids with stem rot, crown rot, I decided to go to another supermarket to see if I would find something different from the previous one, and hopefully I have some footage for you. I am sorry that the quality of the footage is not the same because I couldn't bring the camera. But here is a beautiful, gorgeous pink Phalaenopsis, and that's a different branch of the supermarket. And as you can see, this would be a very good example of something that's green and plumpy. It's a little bit dehydrated, but not as the orchids that we saw before. And you can see how beautiful the green leaves are. Here you have beautiful green leaves, but we have some bud blasting on your Phalaenopsis. That's probably caused by the stress to be in the supermarket for a while. But I wouldn't say that this plant is unhealthy. Looks like, although the buds are blasting, it's not exactly amazing. But near to it, we have horrible orchids. Look at the root system. The roots are brown, like dark brown to black. So they are dead. They are definitely dead. That's why it's a very, very important that you look into the root system. So all of these orchids, they are very dry. The roots are dead. It's not that it's impossible to save them, but some of them have even some moldy look into the leaves. So if you want to take up on a project again and try to save these orchids, do it. However, they are the same price that they were before, and they are not super healthy. So always look to the signs, look at the signs, what your orchid's telling you, what they are telling you from the supermarket shelf. This one is a little bit better, the last one that I showed you in terms of the roots. And now I'm going to give you one example of a good Phalaenopsis, something that you should look for. And that is this large Phalaenopsis, the leaf are plumpy. You can see how beautiful the green is. The spike is not terminal. It doesn't have apparently any sort of infection attaching the root or the crown. And another thing that I did here as well, I lifted it from the pot, from the outer pot, to look into the root system. And I can see it has some beautiful roots, at least at the top of the pot, because this wasn't potted in a transparent pot, so it was an opaque one. And that concludes my visit to the supermarket. I hope these tips and these examples will help you. So that was my vlog today. So it was much more focused on issues that we might find in flower shop orchids, specifically Phalaenopsis, than the healthier ones. But at least the last one that I showed here, you could see what a healthy orchid looks like. I'm not saying that these orchids cannot be saved. Most of them are solvable. The issue here is they were not discounted, the Phalaenopsis, though. They were all in full price. So I wouldn't spend my money on something like that if it is full price, especially if it's not healthy. So I thought that would be really nice to bring you these plants to show you what they look like. And then maybe next time you go to the supermarket, you might find a healthier orchids around. I think because now it's beginning of the month, probably the best orchids are gone as well. So this is just the leftover, the plants that were there probably for the last month. They were not watered, or they were just watered from above and water spilled everywhere. So some of these orchids were crown rot. Other you could see that had terminal spikes, and some were really, really dehydrated. Apart from the terminal spikes, I think most of the other issues happened because of the way these plants were treated. Remember, they are treated like that for commercial purpose. People just want to sell them. But I hope these tips were really helpful. If they were, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. It helps me a lot. Also, leave a comment down below if there is any type of content that you'd like to see here. That's it. I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.